What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Political Insider. I'm Brett Smith, your humble host. Joining me today is Chris Barron of Right Turn Strategies, frequently seen on Kennedy Nation on FBN and Waters World on FNC, and one of our extremely talented writers at the Political Insider. And you have a fantastic piece today, new op-ed which dropped for TPI titled "A November Surprise and the Coming Red Wave." Now, I have to preface this by saying that you predicted Trump would win in 2016, and you were correct. Walk us through some of your predictions in your new piece. Because one thing you say is Trump is going to lose Wisconsin. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I think Trump's going to lose Wisconsin, but I think he's going to pick up Minnesota. I think it's going to be close in Wisconsin. I think, unfortunately, the demographics don't work as well for Trump in Wisconsin as they actually do in Minnesota. I think, ironically, one of the things we've seen erosion of the president's support among the oldest voters in this country. Obviously, fear around COVID has been a part of that. Another thing is I think that Biden comes across as a safer kind of choice than some other Democrats that the party could have nominated. I think, ironically, the president is going to outperform among Latinos and Blacks, particularly Black men and Latino men in 2020 as opposed to 2016. Those demographics work better for him in Minnesota. I think he's also going to do better in the Minnesota suburbs. I think there's a lot of what people saw happen in Minneapolis. I think that is continuing to leave a bad taste in the mouth of Minnesota voters. And it's, by the way, I think it's going to be incredibly close in Wisconsin and in Minnesota. I wouldn't be shocked if the president won Wisconsin, but at this point, I think that he edges out Biden in Minnesota, but comes up just short in Wisconsin.
And then you said that he's going to win Michigan again. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But I don't think that John James is going to win the Senate seat. And here's why. If you look at basically any state where the president is within 6 points of Joe Biden in the Real Clear Politics average right now, you should assume that Trump has got a fighting chance in that state. Right. The state that I believe is going to be the smallest margin for the president that he wins is going to be Michigan. I think it is going to be a razor thin margin for the president in Michigan. I think the president's coattails are going to help drag a lot of these Senate candidates across the finish line. I think the juiced up rural turnout and working class voter turnout is going to get a lot of these Republicans across the finish line. Unfortunately, there are going to be some folks who are going to come up just short. I love John James. I think he's a phenomenal candidate. I think he's got a bright future in this party. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he wins. But right now, the Real Clear Politics average has him down by about 7.5 points. I think with President Trump winning slightly, it's just going to leave James just behind.
Okay.
As opposed to Arizona, right, where there's been significant tightening in both the presidential race and in the Senate race. Right now, the Real Clear Politics average in Arizona has the president and Trump and Biden in an absolute dead heat, 47 apiece, and has McSally having closed the margin to within 3.5 points in the Senate race. I think Trump wins by a couple points, and that his coattails are enough to pull McSally across the finish line.
Yeah, so do I. McSally absolutely destroyed Mark Kelly in the debate. It was overwhelming. I couldn't believe it. I've been waiting for the A-10 Warthog pilot, the killer in her, to come out, and I saw that debate. I mean, she absolutely lambasted him. And then to the point where she was like, "Hey, Mark, let's debate again. I want to challenge you to 2 more debates." And he's like, I don't think so.
Well, and look, I think McSally took some very bad advice at the beginning of this campaign. I think that she thought that she had to put some distance between herself and the president. And the fact is, if you look at the polls, the president has been outperforming McSally this entire time. I think we've seen a lot less of that in the closing weeks. I think that we've seen McSally, making herself more Trump-like and drawing, the comparisons rather than the contrast with the president. I think at the end of the day, that's a smart plan because Trump is going to win Arizona. And like I said, it's going to be enough to pull her across the finish line.
Well, and that's what also all of us in Arizona all of us Republicans have been waiting for, is McSally to cozy up to Trump and get a little bit more strong on pushing forward the Trump agenda. And I think there's a lot of Republicans out there, maybe not a lot, but there's certain ones out there who think that they need to put distance, between them and the president to show that they're impartial and they're independent to voters. People, Republican voters don't want that. They want the Trump agenda. We want the wall. We want immigration taken care of. We want tax cuts. We want to revive the economy. But I mean, really, for Arizona voters, border security is huge. And she's been with Trump down at the wall and at the rallies and touting the wall and touting border security, and those are all good things, and they're certainly good for me. When I was sitting there filling in the bubble for McSally, I was thinking to myself, I feel good about this. I don't feel like I'm having to just vote R just for the sake of voting R. I feel like she's finally come around and shown me what I'm looking for.
And by the way, there's only one Senate race in this country that matters where the Republican should put any distance between him or herself and the president, and that's in Maine. That's my home state. Maine, very, very strange place. Southern Maine looks a lot more like Massachusetts in the way that it votes. Northern Maine looks a lot more like West Virginia in the way that it votes. The president's going to win the 2nd congressional district. They do electoral votes by congressional district there. So the president's going to win one electoral vote out of Maine, which is fantastic. That's real Maine, by the way. Yeah. And, look, Susan Collins, whether people love her or hate her, the fact is that we need Susan Collins' vote. Susan Collins is one of the only Republicans who could win statewide in this environment. The fact is that Southern Maine simply swamps the northern part of the state. The president will lose the 1st congressional district in Maine by more than 20 points. He'll lose the state by probably 10 points. So there, Susan Collins, I know it made a lot of people angry that she, voted against Amy Coney Barrett, and I understand it made people angry. But the fact is it was an opportunity for her to show a little bit of independence. And Maine is different. It's weird. It's not like everywhere else in the country. And I care more about Susan Collins winning than I do about a worthless vote. If it had come down to one vote, I'd have told her she'd have to take one for the team, even if it means she loses, because we need Amy Coney Barrett on the bench.
Absolutely. I want as much of a majority in the Senate as possible going into next year. So I think that is essential, especially given some of your other predictions. You say that it will be clear that Trump will win on election night. What happens if that's not the case? Walk us through some of those potential scenarios.
It's going to be clear that Trump has won on election night, but I also made it clear that no major news outlet, except probably OAN, will call this race for Trump on election night. I predict the president will rightfully go out and, say he won. He's going to claim victory, and it's going to be clear that he has. But Democrats have banked this, and the media have banked this entire thing on mail-in ballots, and mail-in ballots coming in past the deadline. And the numbers are going to seem beyond the pale, that there'll be no way that mail-in ballots can come in and make up the difference. It's not going to matter. There's no way the major news outlets call this for the president on the election. I don't care how much he's winning by, because what they want to have is this litigated. We're going to have a series of pointless lawsuits all across the country. There's going to be efforts to attempt to expand the amount of time that absentee ballots can be accepted after the point, and mail-in ballots. There's going to be battles over mail-in ballots that have been rejected because signatures didn't match up, because they didn't arrive on time, whatever, because they weren't mailed in the proper form. There's going to be all kinds of battles, and that's what they want, and that's what we're gonna see over those days. At the end of all of these pointless court cases and breathless, CNN coverage, President Donald J. Trump is going to be reelected. He's going to have been right on election night to declare victory, and that's going to be the end of that.
Yeah, I'm kind of preparing myself for a Florida 2000 scenario, but in multiple states.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm thinking, and it's not necessarily going to be hanging chads this time, because I don't know if anybody's doing those punch cards anymore, but it's probably going to be malfunctioning electronic ballots, and it's going to be, like you said, signatures that don't match.
It's going to be mail-in ballots. Look, the president could be winning in Michigan by 150,000 votes on election night, and the Democrats are going to go and try to claim that we need to leave mail-in ballots to be accepted for 3 weeks afterward. They're going to make ridiculous claim. They're going to say that you can mail it a week afterwards, that you should be able to continue to vote. Like, it's going to be insane. Like, and at the end of the day, their efforts are going to fall short. But they're going to fight tooth and nail. And trust me, look, they're not going to do like Hillary. You've got to give credit to Hillary in 2016. She knew it was over when it was over, and she called and she conceded. She conceded before CNN or MSNBC actually called the race for the president.
That's true. Yeah.
But I mean, it was ridiculous. Like the race was over in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan, and CNN and MSNBC refused to call those races because it was clear as soon as they did that Trump was going to be elected president. So none of those networks are going to call him. I love Fox. You know, I'm on there a lot. I love Fox. I hope they have the courage to do the right thing and follow the science. We love to hear people talk about following the science. Follow the science here. There will not be enough mail-in ballots to bail out Joe Biden. Donald Trump will be elected. It'll be clear on election night, and all of the networks should project him to be the winner.
Yeah, the two words combined I am expecting from Democrats on Wednesday is voter disenfranchisement.
Oh yes, yeah. We're going to hear all the like. I stood in line for 12 hours and had to leave. Like,
right.
I mean, it's going to be all these things. You're going to find some story of somebody who went to go vote and didn't have their driver's license. So that's proof there was, rampant voter disenfranchisement. It's like the Stacey Abrams thing. Like, she still hasn't conceded that she didn't win the governorship. Like they're gonna pound this drum. And by the way, the media has set the table for this. They're going to say that Trump's re-election is illegitimate. That's their plan. That's what they're going to do. It's why they're going to have this long, drawn-out process where they're going to waste time and money on court cases, trying to drum up votes to put Joe Biden over the top. They know that it's not going to be sufficient, but they want to undermine the president from the beginning.
Yeah, anything to put an asterisk next to the election or just knock him down, a couple pegs going into, his next administration. Just they want to sow as much element of doubt out there about the legitimacy of his election as possible. So that's going to be the narrative.
And guess what? He's going to have his participation trophy in the case that I think Biden's probably going to win the popular vote.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So we'll spend 4 years of listening to Democrats talk about how we need to change the rules of the game because they can't win under the current rules. So we've got to change the rules that we've had for 250 years to accommodate a political party that can no longer win under those rules.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Let's switch it up a little bit. How did the campaigns, or how does the 2016 Trump campaign and the 2020 compare when it comes to outreach to LGBT folks, Blacks, Hispanics, minorities? How does it compare to past Republican campaigns? And do you think it will make a difference this year?
Yeah. Well, first off, this ain't Mitt Romney's party anymore. First off, there is actual LGBT outreach. There's actual Hispanic outreach. There's actual African-American outreach. And by the way, it's not this tokenism that we saw during the Romney days or during the George W. Bush times. Like, this is actually drawing people into the party based on our shared values. Like, Trump is appealing to working class voters all across this country. And look, I wrote an op-ed for CNN, believe it or not, after the president was elected in 2016, where I said that the president had an amazing opportunity to expand his working class coalition from 2016 to 2020 by expanding it among working class Latinos and working class Blacks in this country. And if you look at polls all across this country, and it should make Democrats very, very nervous, Trump is overperforming, particularly among Black men and Hispanic men. And I think it is going to be the irony of ironies that the Democratic Party, which fashioned itself the vanguard of minorities everywhere, is actually going to be undone by minorities. It is going to be Black men and Hispanic men who put Donald Trump over the top in 2020, and Democrats will never stop complaining about it.
He's losing potentially some senior vote, and he's also got a little bit of struggle with white college-educated women.
Yep.
And yet he's going to be pulling in more Blacks, more Hispanics, and potentially gays for Trump. And I know a lot of people who are gay who love Trump. Not just yourself.
No,
there's a
It's been
Huge movement out there.
insane phenomenon. And
Yeah.
it makes me so crazy because for decades, there have been plenty of us who have said, you don't have to change what you're doing. And we don't have to go out and play identity politics. But we should make the case to every person in this country that voting Republican's better for them. We should make the case to gay people. Here's why voting Republican is better for you. We should make the case to Hispanics. We should make the case to Black people. Like, and you know, your grandpa's Republican Party just refused to do it. Unilateral surrender. We're not going to play identity politics. Well, meanwhile, you're losing millions of votes because people think that you don't want their vote. And that's what Trump has done so well, is that he has not changed what he's talking about. He hasn't even changed the way he's talking about it. He's just telling people, he's telling gay people in this country, I want your vote. He's telling African Americans in this country, I want your vote. He's telling Hispanics, I want your vote. And by the way, it was an epic meltdown on CNN today when they were talking about the early vote numbers out of Miami-Dade, where for any Democrat to win, they've got to run up the numbers. Guess what? The numbers look dreadful for the Democrats in Miami-Dade. One of the reasons is because Hispanic and Black voters are either not turning out or they're voting for Donald Trump. This literally will be one of the stories of this election, will be that minority men saved Donald Trump.
That's just incredible. I never figured in my lifetime that a Republican would be saved by minority men.
But I mean, you think about it. You think about like what Trump stands for, what he's prioritized. I mean, this is the party of working class voters.
Yeah.
You know, why should working class Black men go vote for Joe Biden? You know, the same failed democratic politics that have been in urban cities for 7 generations. You know, the same failed policies that have failed Hispanic voters. Like, these are not like Republican, you know, policies. It's not like Republicans have been in charge in these urban areas. Like, the policies that are in place now that have led to the type of poverty and, you know, generational poverty, you know, that allow people to actually escape that cycle of poverty, has all been put in place by Democratic politicians. And pre-COVID, we saw the lowest Black unemployment since they started taking that economy. And guess what? I think some of the bravado that maybe suburban white women don't like, I think working class Black men and working class Hispanic men like a little bit of that Trump bravado. And, you know, they're not worried about the toxic masculinity.
Yeah, I mean, somebody said this isn't a popularity contest. Who was that? Jack Nicklaus or somebody? Is it Jack Nicklaus? Like Brett Favre came out today and endorsed Trump. But yeah, I want somebody who's going to go fight on behalf of the American people, not only domestically but internationally. You know, and I just want somebody that's competent. You know, if he's not as careful with his words as some would like, then tough. You know, I don't care. It's about the results. It's not about the presentation.
Well, here's what I want you to be prepared for. After 2016, we saw all these pieces written by all these liberals blaming white women for voting for Trump. You know, they were the scourge of society. Get ready for all the think pieces about how Black men and Hispanic men are the problem in America. Get ready for it, because it's gonna happen. They're going to look for someone to blame, and it's going to be Hispanic men and Black men.
And how is that not going to continue to drive the support from those demos straight into Republican hands? If they do push forward with that, which I believe you that they will.
They will. Look, they don't care. They don't care. They're constantly on. Nothing up for them is about winning. It's all about a crusade, a moral crusade. You know, it's one of the things I love about Trump. Is Trump perfect? No. Does Trump want to win? Yeah, more than anything in the entire world.
Yeah.
Trump to win. He's not going to leave anything on the table. And by the way, Democrats are going to regret wasting time campaigning in places like Texas and Georgia when they come up just short in places like Minnesota and Michigan. They can thank themselves for buying their own press and believing that they could flip a red state like Georgia or Texas.
Yeah, I don't even understand why Joe Biden's going to Texas or going to some of these places. I think it's really bizarre, especially when they're saying Democrats are literally on record saying we need to stop the bleeding in Florida because they see what everyone else sees, which is they're in trouble down there, and that's not good for them. So, turning to where am I? There we are. Turning to Florida and Ohio. These are obviously swing states. What are driving people to the polls in places like Florida and Ohio, do you think?
Sorry, you just blinked out there for a second.
Oh, okay. Florida and Ohio?
Florida and Ohio, those are the two swing states I feel most comfortable about for the president. He wins those
Okay.
5 points, at least
Yeah.
a 5 for the president in both Ohio and Florida.
And how much stock should people put in the difference between these campaign events in the final days? I mean, Trump is going to be doing like 14 rallies over the next like 3 days, which is just insane. But at the same time, I can see him kind of saying to himself, whatever we did last year, let's double it. Let's just go for it.
Well, look, reporters are going to want to tell you that the size of these rallies don't matter. And that's just insane.
They're twice as big as what they were in 2016.
Look,
maybe bigger.
You think that anybody who's showing up to stand in the rain, the cold rain, for 12 hours to see President Trump isn't going to go stand in the rain to go vote? No, absolutely not. Anybody who's been involved in any campaign know that enthusiasm matters. I'll never forget one of the first campaigns I worked on in Eastern North Carolina. I was talking to the campaign manager, and my campaign manager said, look, our goal isn't to stop our opponents' voters from going to the polls. Our goal is to just have them go vote by themselves. We want our people going to vote and calling 10 of their friends to make sure they come with them. That's what matters. It's that kind of enthusiasm and energy that matters. Look, the lines are going to be long. No Trump person is going to go look at those lines and say, I'm not going to stand in it. The casual, low information Biden voters, he's going to win anyways. I'm not standing in that line. I got other things to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely, these matter, and they also are getting the base fired up at the perfect time. And I said, Trump's not going to leave anything on the table.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was like General Flynn said the other day, leave it all in the field. And that's exactly what I see him doing here. And I knew that just like in 2016, that Trump was going to out-campaign Biden the same way that he out-campaigned Hillary. He ran circles around her. And it's the same thing here, if not worse. I would say that Hillary's probably more healthy and was able to get around and move around and do more campaigning than Joe is. Part of that is obviously COVID. But, these rallies that Joe is having with 8 people standing inside these circles is just insane.
He might as well not do them. Going to Georgia, and he did an event in Georgia, and he had 15 people. How's that going to impact the race? I honestly don't. I honestly don't understand. I mean, if there's some magic to this that somebody needs to fill me in on, I'm all ears. I'm willing to listen. I don't know how go do an event with 15 people in Georgia is going to change the composure, the complexion of that race. I don't think it's going to.
Well, and the other thing is that passion is infectious, and its enthusiasm is infectious. And when you see the passion and enthusiasm at these Trump rallies and with Trump himself, and then you look at these Biden rallies, which they're barely that. I just say to myself, the enthusiasm gap is very real, and you can't sell anything if you don't have passion behind it. It's like, I've always said, without passion, it doesn't matter what it is. You could be selling a widget. You have to have passion. Otherwise, it's like dressing up a corpse. If you don't have passion, other people are not going to get passionate or enthusiastic about it. And that's why I look at these, these Biden events, and I'm just kind of like, I come to the same conclusion that you do. Why have them? Because frankly, from just strictly optics, it doesn't look good.
It looks terrible.
Yeah,
it looks terrible. I mean, I don't. And by the way, look, Biden's going to have run more ads than the president. Hillary did.
Oh yeah.
He's going to spend a lot more money. Hillary did in 2016. At the end of the day, that's not going to matter.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's just for TV. No matter what I turn on, and I'm not talking about the networks. I'm streaming stuff. I'm on Pluto and all these apps. All I see is just wall to wall Biden and Mark Kelly ads. I mean, it is just it is it's going to be wall to wall carpet bombing
Look,
through Tuesday.
dude, I listen to sports radio all day long.
Yeah,
Either on radio.com app or Sirius NHL or Sirius NFL, and it's been nonsense. By the way, some of the grossest, most vulgar race baiting ads by Joe Biden that I've ever heard.
yeah.
Really gross stuff is going on radio right now that isn't being like he's not putting some of this stuff on TV. There's literally ads where they're comparing Trump to George Wallace.
Right.
I mean, it's really gross stuff, and I'm like, I can't believe this is even happening.
There's all these pack commercials that I've been watching. They're hilarious because they're largely all the same. It's just like this like ominous music, and then the voiceover comes on, and it's like Donald Trump is the cancer that's killing America. That it's like vote Joe Biden. They're all the same. I mean, it's not creative. It's not interesting. It's just basically push Granny over a cliff all over again.
Funny thing is, I saw an article today talking about how some of these anti-Trump ads have been so saturated that they may actually be helping Trump.
Well, I sent you that Lincoln Project one that they did, which was an 80s infomercial parody, and it had Trump. They took the footage of Trump when he got out of the hospital, and he did that little video where he's like, "Hey, everybody, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president," which just had me rolling on the ground laughing. But Lincoln Project takes that and they turn it into this 80s infomercial with all this kind of VHS effects and the music. And I thought that was hilarious. And it actually made Trump funny and relatable. And it actually it's like these ads have the opposite effect, especially something like that. Because it's something that a MAGA supporter, a MAGA person like you or me is happy to go out and share and to be like, "Hey, everybody, look at this. This is hilarious."
Yeah. It's just so funny. And look, I know that this is anecdotal, but I don't know a single Trump voter from 2016 who's voting for Joe Biden in 2020.
Me neither.
I know a lot of people who didn't vote for Trump in 2020 or 2016 who are voting for him in 2020. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have believed it. Some of them are really freaking enthusiastic about it too.
Well, and they have reason to be. I mean, now we have results. I mean, Trump has a lot of accomplishments. It was one thing in 2016, we were all kind of sort of in the same spot that he pitched to black voters, which was, what do you have to lose by voting for me? So we gave him a shot. Hey, look at all these results. Look at all these fantastic results. What's not to be enthusiastic about? What's not to be passionate about going into Tuesday if you're a Trump supporter? You're happy with the results? We want more. It's like Trump said, we're going to win, we're going to win, we're going to win. And we're going to win so much that you're going to say, "No, Mr. President, we need to stop winning. We're winning too much." And he's like, "No, we're going to win more. We're going to win more." That's the kind of stuff that got me cranked up in 2016. And even though he was joking around, he's also partially right. The wins just don't stop. And it's like 33% GDP. I mean, I never in my wildest dreams, I've always fantasized just about 8% GDP, which is what we had in the 80s with Reagan for a period of time. You can't expect the economy to be that hot all the time. Otherwise, it's like a piece of iron that's too hot and it just melts. So, realistically, it'd be great to have 3 to 4% GDP, for the rest of the Trump presidency. But hell, I'll take 33 and a third percent. That's insane. Yeah. And think about this. Had Gavin Newsom and these Democrat governors and mayors opened up the rest of the country, we might have 40% GDP, because I guarantee you that California, New York, and some of these liberal states are dragging, they're the ones that are kind of dragging that, by not opening up and keeping all these crazy lockdown restrictions in place.
Yep, absolutely.
So, dude, if your White House Senate predictions are true, what do you think Trump's agenda will look like in 2021?
I think it's going to look a lot like what it looked like from 2016 on. I think the difference is, look, the good news for Republicans does end at some point. I think they pick up seats. I think they pick up one net seat in the Senate. That comes in the surprise in Minnesota, where Jason Lewis knocks off Tina Smith, the senator that no one's ever heard of. And I think in the House, I think we are going to pick up seats. I think
Anyway, you were saying about the House.
I think we're going to pick up a couple of. I think we're going to pick up a few seats in the House. I don't think it's going to be enough to retake the House, which means Nancy Pelosi is going to be Speaker of the House again. Yeah. So I think we're going to have divided government again, and in some weird way, the American people seem to like divided government. The difference is going to be that Nancy Pelosi is going to have to make deals at this point because she's stuck with Donald Trump and a Republican Senate for 4 more years.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think we're going to have Nancy for the next 4 years. I think that Trump will expand the executive orders, which some of us, are sort of, it's good and bad. I mean, I want things to happen, but at the same time, I don't like the executive branch usurping more power. But at the same time, if the House is going to sit on its butt, then, what else is he supposed to do? He's got to get stuff done. But, we're going to, we're going to see the art of the deal in the last 4 years of Trump. That's going to be the interesting part, to see what he's able to accomplish with, with a split government. The economy usually likes split government. So that's not a bad thing, because really a split government to business means nothing significant is really going to change. So that is certainty.
Yeah, absolutely.
And businesses like certainty, no matter what it is, so they can plan, and it's assuredness. So anyway, okay, so we are sadly out of time. I'm sure we'll be talking next week after Tuesday. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But anyway, thanks for thanks for jumping in here with us and for the op-ed. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I think your predictions are right on. So I think it's just absolutely solid. So we're out of time. I want to thank Chris for joining me. Everyone, make sure and check out thepoliticalinsider.com and subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss any of our stories from our talented writers. Also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Please like and share this video far and wide. Subscribe to The Political Insider on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications so you never miss any of our new videos like this one. Everyone have a great day, and we will see you next time. See you next week.
Absolutely.
Take care.